We've all heard about gun violence. But what if one of those shootings involved someone you love? It can happen to any loved one, your brother, mother, cousin, or even yourself. They're terrible, but honestly, how do they all happen? Guns are far too easy to find by people who do not need to be wielding them. And while there's a large outcry for harsher gun control in America, it seems that everyone who seems to be calling for these harsher gun control laws are really calling for the automatic rifles to be recalled from people's possession. However, automatic weapons only account for about 2.5% of gun violence, according to NBC News. The real killer is in handguns. Handguns are extremely easy to come by in the United States and account for about 75.9% of all gun related injuries in the United States. That's a lot of people who have been seriously injured or even lost their life due to a handgun. Let me throw some numbers at you. According to NBC News and the Brady campaign to prevent gun violence, 100,000 people are shot annually in the United States. That's roughly 280 people a day. 85 of those people would die before they even reach a hospital. 30 of those people will be murdered, and 53 of them will have committed suicide. In 2010, 82 children and 53 law enforcement officials died by the likes of a handgun. But it gets way worse. From 2000 to 2010, a total of 335,000 people died from gun violence. According to the 2012 census, that's more than the population of St. Louis, Pittsburgh, or Cincinnati. And if you ask me, that's way too many. Research shows that if each state raised their waiting period to get a handgun to 3 weeks, that gun violence would decrease by 28.2%. However, 14 states have no waiting period to purchase a gun, or the waiting period is about a week or two. Any mentally ill person at all could go and walk into a pawn shop and buy a gun today and bring it to your school, a movie theater you're at, or probably even your house. And that happens way more often than not. Actually, 259 shootings have occurred just this year. The last one being on October 24th, when a kid brought his father's handgun that he'd bought 2 days before to his cafeteria, shot two kids, and before committing suicide. And that's honestly really sad. That's his life that was wasted, and the two high school seniors who were going to, graduate and go to college this year, both gone due to, unfortunately, a child who was mentally ill, couldn't find help, and, well, took matters into his own hands. However, there are many ways in which we could fix a lot of those problems. First of all, we could stop blaming the guns themselves and start blaming the people themselves. We can do this by making mental health, evaluations mandatory to purchase a gun. If you do not pass said evaluation, classes can be made available to you, and after completing those classes, you can get a gun in 6 months. You could go to a medical professional for this. You could go to any gun shop for this. Anyone could really do this. It's not very hard, but it could save a lot of lives. Drug testing. Drug testing could take a lot of guns away from drug cartels or, honestly, people who don't need to be doing these things. I mean, if you pass a drug test, great, you can get a gun. If you don't pass the drug test, wait 6 months, come back. If you pass that one, sure, you can have it. I honestly do not believe that guns are the problem. I think that guns do a lot of good. They protect a lot of people, and of course, it is part of our amendment that, it's a right to have it. It's a right to bear arms. But it's not a right to constantly feel threatened because everyone around you has guns. If we simply took away or kept the guns away from people who didn't need them, a lot of those numbers of people dying and being injured would decrease in a year's time. It honestly would not be hard, and if people would just kind of get off their high horse, we could really, really save a lot of lives.